SEMrush is an online visibility, management, and content marketing SaaS platform. Today, it unites over 5 million marketers worldwide and assists them in their everyday with help of its key tools: competitive research, SEO, content marketing, social media, and advertising. SEMrush always aims to provide a product solution to all marketing experts to ease their workflow. Check out their newly launched tool, Content Marketplace. Now you can order and optimize blog posts in just a few clicks to fuel your content marketing efforts. Check them out at semrush.com, and thank you for sponsoring SEMrush. Detlef Johnson is one of the early SEO pioneers. There's really very few people that have come before him in our industry. He's super well known for his technical SEO knowledge, and he's a super great guy. Hope you enjoyed this interview. Hey everybody, we're finishing up at SMX here, and with me is Detlef Johnson.
Hey Barry.
Can you please tell people who might not know you who you are?
All right, so my name is Detlef Johnson. Right now I'm an editor at large with SMX, and I also do some moderating at the SMX conference series. Actually, editor at large Search Engine Land.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And you're fairly well known in the SEO space for your technical prowess.
Yeah, in the early days, it was Danny was doing all the moderating of the content type shows or content type sessions, and I was doing the technical sessions. So we had like content broken down into those two areas. And so I've been doing a lot of that in the past. And now that I'm pretty much back, I did take a break, but now that I'm back into SEO, I'm getting back into the programming and technology side of things again.
And you were at the first SES event?
I was.
And when was that? Where was that? And what date was that?
It was like a mid-November 1999 in San Francisco.
And you had a long streak with SES.
I did. In the first several years, it was just Danny and I doing moderating. I had done most of the shows that entire first 10, 15 years of the shows.
Interesting. So it's been a long time. Oh, you also had your newsletter, I believe, your email newsletter?
I did. I had the iSearch newsletter that had about 18,500 subscribers in those old days, and it was an email list form. And I think what ended up happening was it kind of subsided because blogging took over, and more people were interested in being able to comment on things and getting their comments visible, immediately right after pushing send. With my list, you had to write, and then I had to include, the email that you might have wanted to be part of the discussion, and then I would assemble discussions like that and send it out to the list. So,
you should start that back up.
I know I should, but it was good because it was an entirely moderated discussion list, so it kept the noise down.
For sure. And how'd you and Danny meet originally back in the day? Through that list, or?
Actually, yeah, through that list. It was through that list that he reached out to me originally to begin doing, stuff at the shows. I think the second show was in Dallas, and we had those breakout tables that began doing those topics, during the lunch hour or during main session shows, maybe some breakout table content. And those breakout tables, that was a room that I was moderating at the time, just making sure that every table had some good speakers, and that the content was on topic and staying.
What's funny is that back when you were doing SEO for the first time, even before it was called SEO, JavaScript was around.
It was.
It was widely used back then, I believe. Then it died off.
Yeah.
And now it's like the biggest thing, right?
That's right. It's the biggest thing for sure now. And in those days it was around, but we didn't even have CSS.
Right.
It was all tables layout. And so those are, that everything has come miles forward to now JavaScript basically having a renaissance moment. Over the last 10 years, it's been incredibly important since the Node.js project brought JavaScript to the server side. So that's really the reason it's taken off. It's not necessarily because JavaScript is so whiz-bang awesome on the front end. It's that JavaScript has now been brought to the server side, so you can now program using the language both on the server and in the browser, and have them, you have this one sort of development platform using the language in order to create these big web applications, very highly interactive, because JavaScript was the language that brought interactivity to the web pages.
Technical SEO back in the older days, I guess before even 2005, was more about making your site, making sure that Google could actually crawl your site, make sure it could be indexed. All the CMS platforms were horrible. Now everything kind of is like built in, everything works well. And now I feel like the JavaScript frameworks are where we were with the CMS frameworks back then.
It's very much a good analogy. I mean, even though the scale of the problems are much different, in the old days, you might have something like CGI programs with all these parameters, and search engines getting caught into little spider traps and other things that they would look for and try to limit their crawling from. So you might have visibility problems from URL structure, or horrible things that today would just raise the hair on security professionals. You'd put session IDs in URLs and stuff. That was some of the old CMSs were doing that. Today now, some of those kinds of problems are similar in nature, but the scale of them is so much bigger now because JavaScript has taken over a lot of the web development, and so all of the facility that JavaScript brings to developers makes these problems sort of expounded into a great wider set than ever before.
Right.
Some of the similar things are still kind of echoing the past.
So while you were talking, Martin Split from Google walked behind you, and he actually gave a great presentation at
did.
XMX on JavaScript, and he basically said it's like any other tool. Just if it's like a knife, don't stab yourself with the knife. You want to make sure to use it and not cut yourself and use it right. And it's pretty much a similar way. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing for XMX and Search Engine Land. What are your initiatives with this year there?
Well, having started at Search Engine Land, I began the column SEO for Developers and Programming for SEO, trying to bring some of the programming back into the community, because in those old days, half the audience at SMX or the SMX-like shows were made up of developers. There were a lot of developers at the shows. And these days, the shows have sort of been mostly dominated by content marketers and the paid marketing type of folks. So I'm trying to bring the developer community back into these shows, trying to foment a lot of more discussion around this area. And so I have some days in SMX Advanced where we're going to be able to provide a track on programming for SEO. And so there's look for new content coming in both the shows and in the column in the forthcoming year.
So we should expect, hopefully, to see a lot more maybe developer level people at the Advanced show.
Yes.
Hopefully seeing them more so also at SMX East, SMX West, because there's very few developers in that room there, which is kind of surprising to me. So
it was a packed room, but only a few people raised their hand when you asked them if they were developers or not.
I guess they have developers working for them, and
Yeah.
one thing is communication, but I expected there to be a lot more developers there, and we are hopefully, if you're a developer and you want to learn about everything SEO that you need to be worried about, it's a very quick way and easy way to actually learn everything.
Yeah, and one of the things I would like to do also is to make sure that I have content that allows tech SEO to be able to communicate more with developers. So that's why they might show up and attend these types of events and sessions, so that they can learn more about the developer language. Even if they don't themselves ever plan on being a developer, it should be something they should aspire to go visit and sort of just to get immersed in the language and begin to speak that language to be able to communicate with developers. And that's very, very important to the SEO process.
I mean, I personally, as you know, I have a development company. We do a lot of web software development and so forth. Not really front-end stuff, so I'm not really worried too much about SEO. But I don't have a problem communicating. Whenever we have any front-end stuff, they'll come to me and be like, what does Google expect to see here? And I'm like, what are you looking at? That's what they see. That's what they expect to see. So make sure Google could actually see that. And then you take them through the different tools and so forth. And a lot of it, I think, is, what that room had to learn was about how to communicate with the developers. Because a lot of developers, in good or bad, their attitude is they know it, and they don't want to be told what to do because they know exactly what they have to do. And sometimes there's a bigger picture to things, and communicating that to a developer who's working on a specific project or a set of developers who are working on a specific project is important. And these are the tool sets you'll get from actually going to these types of conferences. Anything else you want to share with the team here, or anybody on the camera about you, about what you're doing here at XMX, Search Engine Land, or maybe any, if people hire you, have a consulting business?
I do have a consulting business. Typically, I will go do a presentation for like a whole day event or something with either a company or some organizations, where trying to help the conversation between marketing and IT. That's basically my whole area of focus, and so I get consulting jobs doing that. And I'm starting to look at some of the tool manufacturers. Like in the old days, remember I worked at Position Tech, and so even though Position Tech isn't here today, they are still in business doing local crawl feeds and stuff like that. The companies like OnCrawl, Modify, and Deep Crawl, and those are things that I'm getting involved with to take a look at their business intelligence dashboards with a crawlback tool. So those are things that I'm interested in looking at from the business perspective, as SEO tools, how far can we go? What can we do with a tool that is all-encompassing? And also on the other spectrum, all my SEO for developers and programming for SEO has the direction that a lot of this stuff, especially for small and medium-sized SEOs and companies, you can do a lot of this type of stuff yourself from the command line in the terminal emulator.
Awesome.
So
if people want to follow what you're doing, how can they follow you? How can they learn more about you or your website or anything?
Definitely Search Engine Land. The article column is called SEO for Developers or Programming for SEO, and those columns will have a nice thread of material for you to read in order to get up to speed with where I'm at and what I'm doing. And then definitely SMX Advanced in Seattle.
And your Twitter handle, if you want to share that?
Deckarts. So it's DECKARTS.
Cool. Thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry.